Welcome to Squad, your favorite source for everything esports and gaming. Squad Spicy here, ready to tell you what's going down tonight. So Brody couldn't handle the heat, so AJ is stepping in to join Marissa in Unmuted, and tonight's Esports in 30 is a daily double, because we're breaking down both CSGO and Call of Duty. But first, it's time to honor the moments where pros become gods. These are our plays of the week.
T-Gray back down. K-Dop pops it to himself. Flip, reset. Going for it. And oh my! K-Dop! He can't be stopped with the flip reset.
Just completely denying the enemy team of any chance with this unreal goal. Upper 90s flip reset.
Kerrigan's so low, he does well to find one. Rops to find four. He's got two. Is he aware that there's a second on the flank, though? I'm not sure. Get through that doorway, and he might not have to worry about it just yet. As he backs up, it becomes apparent, but it doesn't even matter. It's Ligia down. He's got 3 from 4, and he's looking for Gobby at range. He ended the first half with 19. Rops finds 23.
Waiting out the down air, so smart. You know it's coming. The forward air. Didn't get the spike hitbox though, but that time he did. He did. You see the air dodge immediately coming from Salem. Directional air dodging into the stage. Does not want to get put into this situation. Yeah, Prodigy's so smart on his weights, and good on Salem too, not to go too high, because you saw Prodigy. He was going to go right up there and get the up B. Yeah. And we see that a lot from Snakes, actually. They love to recover up high, but you know what? That is the reason why they do, because then they're gonna get hit by the fair and dunked into the blast zone. Super exploitable recovery with Snake if they don't do their shenanigans up there. So unfortunate for him to lose that stock. Great on Prodigy though. Oh, Prodigy! Oh, I thought he was gonna throw his stock and go for a second one. Oh, he wants to go for a second one. Here we go, Prodigy.
Round still very much alive. Frosty now going to get challenged. Oh my goodness gracious me! That's it. He has a family. He has a family.
That sucks. That sucks for TJ. That's great for Frosty. We'll definitely get a look at it again. Thank God this is the best play of the game.
What? Oh my God, that's disgusting.
And I think Akuma has like trouble really with like the neutral game for Julia because it's so fast and like Akuma doesn't have great fast spots, it's honest. Oh, nice!
Okay.
That's guaranteed.
Yes, sir, the resplat. Oh,
He
wow,
wants a
there
run,
it
Sam!
is.
Here they do have a lot more barrier damage with the storm arrows from Hanzo as well as the Roadhog fire, so they can sort of just play it up front with this character. And
Happy!
Oh boy!
Wow. What a shot. Just threading the needle on the links to there. Blink there for the res, but that's a statement to come out of the gate with.
Cloud9, though, they answer with some pressure, just can't come away with anything yet. But this time they're finding each other in the middle of the field.
Oh!
The squishy muffins, you are ridiculous!
That might be the shot of the season for Squishy Muffins. An impossible angle to keep their top two hopes alive.
They are so trapped in, and there's the flick, and there's the house arm! What is that shot? Are you kidding me, Simp? Oh, you know he's challenging. You know he's challenging. The young god!
So much right there. DeBuzz dashing in and out of that range of the Nair. Got that forward smash though.
All I'm seeing right now is DeBuzz just waiting for that Nair. Oh! He's going Lippo mode.
This
might be over.
Big deal right here.
Hold on the bomb site. We've seen him clutch here before though.
Exactly. Can he do it once again here for MIBR in such a critical round? Will Mousesports even give him that opportunity as they start to filter their way onto the bomb site all together? They're peeking the wrong angles. Coldzera has a chance now. Two have fallen, and it's on to Frozen. He gets the job done. Coldzera! What is that?
You have to be able to perform right now. And Dignitas showing their resilience as the shot blocked off the boat. Standing was Yukio. It looked like he might have gotten it.
Oh, and they're going to score.
Feed off the return. 2-0 for the Bricks.
How does this pinball around the net like that halfway in? Pinch from Cooks here into the corner. Turbo Pulse is in a great spot. He's right there to catch it.
AGS July. Oh, that's a huge man to fall down. So now Trunel's back there with the extra damage. Super swinging Luffy in the corner. Can't do anything about it. How have you come back from this? Super.
Welcome to Unmuted, where we got your gaming and esports hot topics, hot tweets, and the spiciest memes. I'm Marissa Roberto.
And I'm AJ Fry. Producer Lisa's got 2 minutes on the board and topics at the bottom of your screen for us to debate and argue over and get heated and hate one another and storm out of the studio over.
No.
That's where it's going today, Marissa.
We're gonna love each other forever and ever and always, AJ. Of course, we do have a mute button that comes into play. If we need to press it, AJ and I may or may not mute each other. Lisa's in her ear now, so she may just force us to mute. You never know with this one. She's a dictator. We love it when chat calls us out when we're wrong. Don't be shy. We can take it. Let's get to our first story here. We're going to break apart today's biggest story, starting with the game development by popular demand at Riot Games. Every so often, Riot releases a champion rework for League of Legends that updates and changes one of their game's older champions. For example, Kayle recently got a rework that dramatically changed her playstyle. And while Riot has announced a few of the champions who will be getting reworks, it also created a poll to let fans vote on one of 5 champions who will get
get a makeover. Whichever champion wins will get a brand new update sometime in 2020. So, AJ, is letting fans vote on a major game development project the right move, do you think? Because it could prevent some of those popular champions from seeing the light of day.
Yeah, that is a downside of this, I suppose.
Yeah.
But on the upside, one of the options is Volibear. So from me, that's a big thumbs up. If everyone out there could vote Volibear, getting the rework, make it more viable in the current meta. So when I finally get around to getting back into League of Legends, my main Volibear will be much better off. You know, if this was a different game, if this was like Overwatch, where your character pool is only 30 characters, I think you'd have a bit more of a serious problem if you're caving to the whims of the audience, of the fans, the gamers themselves. But a game with as many characters as League of Legends, I think when you're just narrowing down to like 5 that definitely need rework, I think this is pretty safe territory, and this is giving the crowd an opportunity to voice their concerns and to pick their favorite one who really needs an update. So I'm actually entirely on board with this idea for this game in this circumstance, but not an across-the-board support. Marissa, go!
Oh, not an across-the-board support. Well, I mean, I guess we have a typical voting system where it's just going to be 5 characters that they're putting out there. We're not seeing all the characters where players can't like
these 5.
Exactly. So, I mean, there is the option of, you know, just trolling and picking a character that definitely trolls, like Timu, instead. Like, if they could just throw characters in, if players could just vote on whoever, then we might see an issue. I feel like this, like Riot's just giving us, you know, a little taste. Like, if you're going to go into the States and vote for who you want to be president, this is how, I feel like this is how it should be now. Just Twitter polls, Twitter votes, and this might actually work because it actually gives people a voice. They don't have to leave their homes. So maybe Riot is starting something here.
Did we just go from picking characters to change in League of Legends to how to redo the vote for president of the United States of America?
Yeah, that's how deep and how far-reaching we go with this show, children.
All right, well, Teemo and Volibear in 2020. That's my vote. All right, over in Dota 2, the MDL Major is well underway, and over half the teams competing have been eliminated, which is bad enough. But for one of those teams, they're making some dramatic changes to remain competitive moving forward. South American team Chaos Esports has decided to abandon its home continent and just skip over to Europe due to the difficult logistics in running a team over in Brazil. The team even dropped 2 of its Brazilian players in order to accommodate the move, and to say that South American fans are unhappy would be a bit of an understatement. So, Marissa, what do you think of a team leaving their home region to remain competitive in the esports scene?
Whoa.
This is big.
Okay, here's the thing. If they were to just leave Canada, there wouldn't be such an uproar. We're not as passionate, I must say, we have to call it the Canadian fans right now, we're not as passionate as they are in Brazil.
We're just polite with our passion.
We are very polite with our passion. Yeah. Brazilian fans are honestly fanatical about everything. Anything and everything you can think of, they are the #1 fans of. Like, I know an actress named is Katie. She does a bunch of different TV shows. She's like, it doesn't matter what I do, what I post. The first comment is always, come to Brazil. We love you in Brazil. It's just everybody lets them know that Brazil is where it's at. It's where it's happening. So the fact that Chaos is leaving Brazil and they dumped a couple of Brazilian players, that's going to sting. That's going to leave a mark. And I don't think they could ever return to Brazil, lest they be...
But
Brazil is also dangerous.
Does this leave opportunity then for like a Brazil founded team to pick up the pieces? And if there's such a fervent fan base there, could they not come together and create their own team that becomes the dominant force in the league in that region?
I mean, maybe for a different genre of esports. I guess Dota is not flying there like everything else is. Like CSGO just shines there. I mean, any other, I feel like a lot of other esports do very well there, but it's maybe the Dota scene that's lacking, and that's why they have to go over to Europe. That could be a thing.
Are they going to pick up any fans over in Europe now that they've repositioned themselves? Is this going to be an area that is like, ooh, yay, we've got that Brazilian, not Brazilian team now. Let's cheer for them.
Maybe. Like, it just
it's a weird move.
It looks bad when you leave a country to jump over to another one because it's going to be easier for you as an organization. But isn't that what movie studios do? They come to Canada because it's cheaper to...
for production purposes,
yeah,
I suppose.
Exactly,
but this is different. This is like your fan base. This is your face. This is your organization. Anyway.
Rip a friggin' dip. A few weeks ago, a scandal engulfed the Magic the Gathering community after legendary pro player Yuya Watanabe. That's what it is. We watch Magic the Gathering tournaments. Was accused of marking his cards. The Magic Pro League began began an investigation and found that he was guilty. The crazy part is his punishment. Watanabe is banned from all MTG events for 30 months. He's kicked out of the MPL and has been removed from the game's Hall of Fame. Both Watanabe and his team say that he is innocent and have accused the judges of framing him. AJ, this is crazy scandal. This is like full-on tea sipping, but this is the first instance of this guy cheating, okay, in his career. So does he deserve the book to be thrown at him in this way?
First of all, he just clearly was not cheating. It was clear that the judges are framing him in order to get rare magic cards. It's all a conspiracy.
This is top-tier sarcasm. Amazing, AJ.
The guy obviously thumbprinted his cards. He cheated. That is not cool, especially at this level. If you're playing Magic with your cousins in a basement on Easter and one of your cousins cheats and you call him out on it, the punishment should be, we just don't play with that cousin anymore. But this is the guy at the top level. He was a Hall of Famer. He marked his cards. Yeah, strip him of everything. Kick him out. That's not cool, man. It is not cool to cheat at this level.
Okay,
or any level.
Or
ever.
any level, definitely. But
at this level, get him out of here.
Okay.
Forget this guy. Don't say his name anymore.
Okay, well, good, because it's difficult for me to say his name, so that's fine.
Yeah.
But I agree with you on that point. But listen, sometimes cheating makes the game a little more interesting. Por ejemplo, the game.
What? I'm sorry. Sometimes cheating makes the game more interesting. I don't even want to hear the end of that point for the beginning of it. The thesis is just inherently wrong. Cheating makes the game more interesting for no one involved. What's interesting is watching two people under the same conditions competing, giving it their best, not using any underhanded techniques. Exploits are a certain thing. Inventing gimmicks or finding certain novel things within a game or within the system and exploiting those, I can give you certain grounds there. But cheating, full-on cheating? No.
AJ Fry, I am unmuted. You didn't let me finish my point. And my point was, listen, when there were steroids in baseball and that was flying, the juiced era was actually very exciting. It made baseball a little more fun to watch. You can't deny
here,
it.
Kids.
You cannot deny
Try the
that is a fact.
steroids. Marissa Roberto, 2019.
Sometimes
unmuted.
Cheating is more entertaining for those watching. Do I think that he should get the book thrown at him? I don't know. Maybe
Should we
give him a
clip
second
this
chance.
and send it to her husband?
Yeah, whatever. You can. He would agree with me.
All right, it's me now. There are two things that are certain in life: death and taxes, and they've made their way into Fallout 76. Of course, death was already there, but thanks to a new update that lets players create their own vending machine stores, players are now going to only keep 90% of their profits, as there's a 10% tax on every sale that goes to Bethesda. The developer says that they put the tax in place in order to prevent the game's economy from stagnating. While some players agree with the reasoning, others are just as quick to point out that the tax doesn't prevent economic imbalance. In fact, it doesn't really do anything because it just goes to Bethesda and it's an in-game currency. So does this make any sense to you?
I guess if we're trying to emulate real life, I mean, it is, an RPG, so I suppose it makes sense to put a tax on it, but weird that it's going to Bethesda. It would kind of be funny if that was part of the game. There's the role-playing version now of Grand Theft Auto.
Right.
That would be so interesting to actually, every year you gotta do your taxes, you gotta claim what you make, or else the IRS is gonna be after you. That would be interesting. If that was the case and they could implement this in Fallout and it's actually that kind, role-playing game style, and they really did have to do taxes, the fact that it's just a vending machine thing where the little 10% gets skimmed off and goes to Bethesda, that's stupid.
But especially because it's bottle caps that are the literal currency within this game. So it's you doing your taxes going okay. 1, 2, 5, 6. Okay, that aside for the big. But I do kind of like your idea though. If there was some sort of character in game who was the collector of the taxes that everyone was paying to, and then you could, I don't know, cooperatively go invade this guy, steal back your taxes eventually, if that was the mission.
Plotting and scheming.
The reality is it's a 10% tax where the caps just go into the ether. They no longer exist. It's just a bizarre idea, just to make you feel the same pain of paying taxes that you feel when you do it in reality, I guess.
Sure, maybe they're trying to prevent capitalism. She's
she went for the pun.
Put it on the board. I mean, that could be it, possibly. It's still, I don't know. So, but that's just
Maybe they're going to like provide some services in game, which
Yeah.
is what taxes are for in the first place, right? Maybe
Yeah.
feeding the roaming mutants in some
Who
capacity.
knows, man? It'll be interesting to see what else Bethesda pulls out when it comes to E3 time,
Yeah.
when they do their presser, like to see if there's any more updates like this. If it's not like real life taxes, like in-game RPG style, I don't
want to
think
see what their policy plans are for using this.
Yes, show us
new
your books.
revenue stream. All right, it's time to check in with streamers and clip it. Our first clip is from Kit Boga, who is known for pulling pranks on scammers posing as telemarketers. Lucky for us, he sometimes gets them to do crazy things like this.
Okay, I'm going to sing the song now. I hear her voice in the morning hours. She called me. The radio reminds me of my home. Far away and driving down the road. I get a feeling that I should have been yesterday. Country roads take me home, to the place I belong, West Virginia, mountain mama, take me home. Country roads, country roads, take me home. Okay, ma'am, are you happy?
Very.
Oh my
I'm very happy too.
How would you rank that rendition of Country Road? My goodness. I can't.
Top tier. That's an S tier rendition right there.
I kind of want to know like what the lead up was to that. Like, how did he get somebody to straight up just sing Country Road for that long too? Like, it wasn't just a couple of lines, a couple of bars. Like, he just went through it and didn't even know the lyrics.
When you're dealing with these scammers, is it that you start giving them your credit card number and then stop halfway through so that they feel like they're about ready to get the juice, get what they came for?
Yeah.
Oh man, I gotta up my creative game when it comes to dealing with the scammers.
Yeah, no kidding. Because especially lately, like again, bringing it back to tax season, like there will be more. You have to watch out. There will be more people calling and pretending that they are CRA or IRS or whatever it is, try to scam you in some way or try to get you panicked to like give them information on the phone. Please don't do it. Also, like warn the elderly people in your life about it as well. Like you just really got to take care. Just think of your mothers and grandmothers. It is Mother's Day weekend, everybody.
Happy Mother's Day.
That's
Protect
right.
your mom.
Ever wonder what happened to an online multiplayer RPG called Anthem? Well, Admiral Baru did, so he decided to see how it's doing on Twitch.
Oh, there it is. 45 viewers. This is a rerun. 8 of the viewers are he's playing Hearthstone. He's playing Monster Hunter. The rerun's playing Overwatch.
Oh my goodness, absolute yikes. No love for the game, and I don't even know why people are labeling that they're playing it when they aren't playing it. Do you feel bad for this fall of Anthem? I mean, I feel a certain way about it. I mean, it was developed in Canada after all.
Yeah, but I don't know.
You don't have feels about it? I mean,
Not really.
I felt like it was going a certain way because, of course, you and I both know Sam Meggs, and she was a writer on it.
Yeah.
And then, like, the project didn't finish, and she left to go somewhere else. And I always feel like whenever somebody's a part of a team and, like, an integral part of a team,
writing's pretty important.
Yeah, and writing very important. And I feel like she's a smart lady, and she maybe saw it going a certain way. Like, this is all just speculation, of course, but like whenever I see,
I haven't talked to Sam about it directly.
No, neither have I. But to see a team member leave any kind of project, I mean, I saw the same thing happen with, Crackdown 3, and some people that were on that team as well. They left before it came out because they were concerned about the way it was going, and they just, when like you have a strong voice and it's not being heard, and like that you're voicing your concerns and nothing happens, like that's frustrating for somebody on a team.
Yeah, and especially with all the hype surrounding this, why it ended up sinking so quickly.
Yeah.
But then again, it is like a single-player game. It's not the kind of thing that you can do the like fun role play with, like Grand Theft Auto. Is it perfect for streaming? I mean, I find that it's the multiplayer games where there's a lot of like replayability that tend to be dominant in the Twitch board. So I don't know if it's doing okay in sales. You can't always use Twitch as a barometer for the success of a
It ain't.
game, but it's not doing well there.
It ain't. So why don't you play some Sea of Thieves this weekend? Mark it as Anthem. And
Yeah, then I'll be the top of the boards on the Anthem category on
Exactly.
Twitch.
All right. Now, it truly is the best time of day where we scroll through the Twitters to bring you all the things the pros bless us with on their timeline. Remember how all that sugar and spice and everything nice I was feeding to you yesterday just kind of blessed you? Well, it baked itself onto our Twitter timeline yesterday with almost every community providing selfies using that Snapchat filter that is doing it for all the boys, I must say. So it was Rich Campbell who summarized quite nicely with this tweet. He says, Freaky Friday 6 Call of Duty. These are all Call of Duty personalities.
Right.
That's Zuma looking like a 13-year-old girl. Methods to his right. Maven bottom left. And look at the prettiest one of all. Silly. I don't know if you noticed that, but Silly does not have the filter on. He's just that pretty.
Yeah.
He's just that pretty. So AJ, how do you feel about these transformations? And do you think we could get one from you?
I mean, we did take one in the office.
You did?
Yeah. So I don't know if we can bring them up now or if we can drop them in the Twitch chat as links or something. Just check my Instagram story.
Oh, and from the story too.
Yeah.
So how would you rate your looks as a woman?
Well, with the filter, not super great. But honestly, if you go back in my timeline enough, I did a project with a makeup artist some years ago using just makeup and no filters. And I'm a convincing lady, Marissa, when I don't got the beard going on.
Okay, well, okay. I mean,
out.
listen, I'm here for it. There's also another version of it for the ladies to use, and it turns us into men. You can definitely find our transformations. Lisa and I made them early today. I feel like I'm a handsome man, and Lisa. She's
It's
a
like the
handsome
same
man as well.
generic man face, though, for all the ladies who use it, and it gets a little bit disturbing. It's just
it's too hard to look at.
There's a variety of men's faces. I feel like there's a variety of women's faces within the filter.
Yeah.
But in reality, there's a variety of men's faces. They should mix it up a little bit, but it's getting a little bit scary.
Yeah, you're right.
Our next profound thought comes from 100 Thieves head of esports operations, Mudog, about to take the boys out to a ball game, it seems. He says, Ian's wearing his own jersey to a baseball game. From left to right, that's United's coach, Facento, with Enable in his own jersey and Attach appropriately dressed for the Dodgers game right there. That's pretty cool. Would you wear your own jersey to a... You go to so many sports games. If you had your own, would you wear it, or do you always wear the jersey of the local team?
That is full-on blasphemy. That's straight up full of yourself. Wear my own jersey with my own name of it. Not even the game. It's not even the type of game. Like, he plays video games. He's going to a sports event with his jersey. I mean, maybe if he wants to be
the respect for esports. How do you generate that without wearing your jersey around, being like, yeah, this is what I play, guys. This is the real game here.
Yeah, but you're going to an event as a fan to be a fan of that sport, and we have to call out Facento there too, who's wearing a Braves jersey. That wasn't even a Braves. The Dodgers weren't even playing the Braves last night. Okay,
well, that's the thing. I was going to point out, like, I'm not. Sorry, but I don't really care about the Maple Leafs or the Blue Jays anymore, or like any professional sports teams in the sports realm these days. So sometimes I get these free tickets to go watch these things, and I'm like, oh, do I wear, like, I could just wear
AJ friggin' Fry. First of all, you don't support the teams in our city. Okay, I can actually let that one slide because that's okay. Sometimes people don't like sports in general. But you're telling me right now that you get free tickets to some of these events? You have not once DM'd me saying that you have tickets. Would you like to go? Not one time have you done that. You cannot even object and say that you have. Are you telling me you've had Leafs tickets and you haven't told me about them?
My old gig, I would get like seats, and it's like, if you want to go to these things, it's important if you did, sort of thing. It was not like I had free tickets to give away. It was like, I should go and be a face at the thing. Different circumstance. I'm sorry.
So I could have entertained you. You could have taken me as a guest.
Not any of them. I couldn't bring anyone. It was like I had to go on my own.
Okay, this is
moving on. Save me from this.
This is not okay. Our last profound thought is from Smash God, Mewtwo King Green after his real life into a pickle. He said, I ate many cookies because it tasted good. Now my stomach hurts. I do this repeatedly when I'm hungry. I grab the best tasting food, even though I know I should not. Why am I consistently stupid? That was the feels Mewtwo.
That's just all of us, right?
That's right. So now I need to know, AJ, what is your favorite binge item? And I also want the chat to do the same. So let us know what you will just binge and just skip dinner for.
I don't know, man. Ice cream's pretty big. Pocky as well.
Oh, you like Pocky?
Yeah, I'll eat a lot of Pocky.
The thing is, like, Pocky's kind of expensive, so I can't really just binge on that and then, like, that be my meal. It also doesn't fill at all.
That's the thing, though. It does if you just keep going. It's convincing. It's because it's so small, like a one Pocky stick. You're like, oh yeah, I'll just have a.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, that was hardly anything. I'll just have another one. And then like 4 hours later, you're still.
Okay, 4 hours later, okay, bougie, buying all these Pockies. Are you kidding me? They're like $6 a box.
Well, if you get the like bulk quantities, if you go to the right stores.
This guy's bougie. He's got
I
tickets
can't take
to
you to Leafs games anymore, but I can take you to the right places to get some good Pocky.
Oh, I see how it is. Okay, fine. Oh, my vote, by the way, goes to Oreos. If anyone is asking, it's Oreos all the way. The thin ones.
The thin ones. Yeah, the thin pistachio Oreos. Magnifique. All right, let's move on because it's time to get to some crowd control. This is where we showcase some of the great or simply dank things the community has been making. Let's talk about porn. Hitbox porn, I should say, of course. Reddit user OJ54 posted this clip proving that it's always important to wear protective headgear.
Okay.
Throws a Molotov, incoming grenade, bounces off his head and over the rock. I don't know if you saw it. Let's watch the slow-mo. Throws the molly.
Oh.
Incoming grenade.
Whoa.
We're in the grenade.
Oh, here we go.
Off the head, over the rock.
Well,
and then it goes off.
Whoever tossed the grenade, like whoever tossed the grenade, that was an amazing toss.
Yeah, it was perfect. Couldn't have been more perfect. But it could have been more perfect for the fact that game mechanics. Doink.
Yeah, just a little shorter. Just a little
if
shorter,
that had been an arc star in Apex Legends, that would have been an amazing play from the other perspective.
What's that one from Halo though? The sticky grenade?
Yeah, sticky grenade, arc stars, they stick to you. Anything that like, but a grenade just boing. And the fact that there was a rock there too, because if that rock had not been there and that grenade still landed that close in front of him, that would have been devastating. But because the cover, amazing play.
Yeah, now I want to know what placement that guy made in PUBG. That's,
I want to see more of these grenade
love.
headers.
Okay, with video games and esports growing bigger and bigger, we're seeing more and more companies and people try to enter the scene to be, well, cool. Not to be left out, this is what Airline Delta did. It reads, union dues cost around $700 a year. A new video game system with the latest hits sounds like fun. Put your money toward that instead of paying dues to the union.
Yeah, this isn't them trying to be cool from a marketing perspective. This is them trying to be underhanded and crappy to their employees, trying to convince them not to join the union. And
holy smokes, how little do you have to think of someone? How little do you have to think of your employees to be like, well, I mean,
instead of joining the union, why don't you get yourself a PlayStation or an Xbox or something?
You don't need to worry about work. You worry about video games.
Forget about people looking after you after our crazy hours of work and treatment reduce you to needing medical assistance that you can afford without your union.
Yeah, if you dive a little deeper into this, honestly, there's like a whole campaign. There's a whole campaign against unionization, which I guess like big companies, any kind of corporation like this does, because any like workers forming a union is hurtful or harmful to a corporation, right? Because they have to adhere to a certain amount of hours, a certain amount of money. They don't want to.
It's not actually harmful in the long run when you provide, health and standards to your employees. You get better employees as a result. Unions can be very helpful. It's just in the short term,
they want them to play video games and not worry about work.
Exactly. Yeah, that is kind of counterproductive, right? Like, this is just the weirdest thing. Delta Airlines, once again, losing my interest. To wrap up crowd control, we got something great for you. Thanks to a cleric on YouTube, you can now take a neat little shortcut in Zelda Breath of the Wild. So that is just one of many of these awesome shortcuts that Cleric has posted on the YouTube channel. There are so many of them. Do you have little hacks or shortcuts you use, Marissa?
No, oh my God.
Or do you just cheat because that's what you're all about?
Okay, you know what? Like, give me a break. If you're talking like reading a guidebook, I sound old, or going on the internet and searching for guides, then yeah, okay. Sometimes I cheat, whatever, man. Don't at me. But no, I'm not good at finding these things in game. I move like molasses anyway. Like I still haven't finished Breath of the Wild.
Neither have I. But it's not by like I could go right now if I can. No problem. Totally ready.
Yeah. Okay.
It's more like I just want to go and finish all of the shrines and find all the Koroks. There's so much to see and do. I don't want it to be over.
Exactly. We don't want it to end. It's just one of those beauty gem games. Listen, if you have Zelda Breath of the Wild, you should just play it this weekend, and don't forget to give your mummies hugs and kisses because it's just their weekend. Okay. Don't forget to get the flowers, people, or maybe bake her something nice. That's all from you today. Remember, you can always hit us up on our socials just to say hi or send us stuff to react to. Someone type in !mark socials in the chat right now for all of our channels. Until then, we'll see you Monday.
Bye.
I like long times. I listen to my phone when I'm working on doing other things.
Okay,
yeah. Oh, okay.
Me too. I like podcasts for that reason too.
We'll just hook a mic up to me and the podcast will be me talking the whole day.
Yeah, or just like if someone following Tyler around and just like the stress of Tyler's day in general. I think it would be pretty interesting.
Okay, so on that note, when I first was getting into journalism, so I was in school, and I was writing an article about vertical farming, which is like farming indoors in a skyscraper. I was like super interested in this. So I'm like, this is the future of humanity, right?
I'm sorry, they're playing, but like that.
Let's go, baby!
Woo! Oh my god, I full on like turned to distraction because I'm actually winning.
I didn't even know you were that far. I didn't even know you were that far into it. Here I'm talking about farming.
Remember, you can catch the whole VOD of The Green Room on our Twitch channel, where you'll also find the button to subscribe, which will get you exclusive access to our emotes and badges. Now, just in a bit, Marissa and Dirk will be repping FPS and esports in 30, but first, let me get you caught up on the latest gaming stories in Reported. Season 9 of the Rainbow Six Siege Pro League is coming to a close, and it's been pretty successful for Ubisoft. So much so that Ubisoft is increasing its financial support for the growing esports scene by over $1 million US. That's a huge bump, but the specifics make it even more impressive. The Pro League's prize pool is doubling, increasing to over $600,000, and the Challenger League support is increasing to nearly 5 times its previous size. Additionally, each minor and major will receive a bump in prize pool over the next year. Fans and players have long been concerned about the low amounts of support for Siege, and initial reactions to the change have been overwhelmingly positive. Let's just hope Ubisoft's commitment to growing Siege esports continues in the years to come. In other Ubisoft news, the publisher announced yesterday the next edition of its popular Ghost Recon series. Called Ghost Recon Breakpoint, the game is set on a fictional chain of islands called Aroa, where a group of Silicon Valley tech settlers are being held hostage by a rogue group of ghosts called Wolves. They've taken control of the islands and plan on using its fleet of drones to commit acts of terrorism. You play as a group of ghosts sent in to take care of the problem, but of course, things go horribly wrong. Breakpoint is designed as a survival third-person shooter, where you scavenge for material on the island to craft gear and take the fight to the wolves. It's designed to be played with a squad of friends or strangers in multiplayer, and has similar systems to the last Ghost Recon game, Wildlands. Only this time, I don't think the Bolivian government is going to be pissed about it. We'll hear more about it at E3 next month, and the game itself launches this October. Square Enix has confirmed yesterday that the Final Fantasy VII Remake still exists thanks to a new trailer. The new footage of the much-anticipated remake of one of the most popular RPGs ever made showcased the game's updated visuals, gameplay, and several early cutscenes. Online, fans went crazy over the trailer, probably because this was the first footage we've seen of the game since 2015. I was still in college then. However brief the trailer was, Square Enix confirmed that more information will be revealed next month. However, we have one piece of good news. It will be released sometime in the PlayStation 4 generation.
He's against Stewie in a one-on-one. 11 seconds. He can't get to the bomb. It's not possible! It's not possible! That is impossible!
Oh my God! He's a walking montage! He's a walking montage, people!
Hello, and welcome to Esports in 30. I'm Marissa, this right here is Zurich, and today we've got our crosshairs firmly set on not one, but two amazing FPS tournaments to dissect because, man oh man, this weekend was busy on nearly opposite sides of the globe. We had CWL London and then IEM Sydney, and both were insane.
Insane. The crowds were both popping. Everybody, the crowd was its own entity on top of just like the entire tournament. There was a lot of storylines that we have to follow. Can't wait to talk about those, obviously. So
I know, I'm so excited. So we'll get right into it. But you down with starting with some Call of Duty?
Of course. Let's do it.
Okay, well, we call up our lovely guest to talk all about the craziness in London. Why don't we relive some of it together with these highlights?
Round still very much alive. Fozzy now going to get challenged. Oh my goodness gracious me! That's it. He has a family.
She's finding the kills. The time is just simply against them. They're going to slide in with 0.3 seconds left on the clock. It's a 7v9. They still can do it, but they need to stay alive.
They're going to stay alive. TJ's on point, he gets dropped. They're back and forth. Enable with 2. 0.3 seconds left. Dashy's there. The lives are all out. But 100 Thieves are still on the point. They're holding on. 5 to 3. 100 Thieves now with a chance to capture the point. Optic, they got 3 lives left to do this. It's going back and forth. It all comes down to 100 Thieves have done it.
As you throw your microphone on 1 versus 2.
The whole box show, I threw it all.
He's able to find one now on 1 versus 1. He's read it correctly. It's Simp.
But now we're going to see round number 3, and we see Method Sick invest in that grab slam, and that's going to give him streaks as well. He's looking for more, and Method Sick picks up 4. What a start from him.
Gets picked off by an ICR, and the 5v4 has turned into even more players falling one by one. Nagafin, though, trying to make things a little bit interesting, and he's able to find 2 with the help of Mox, but now players are flanking. Nagafin's got to sprint forward. Mox is still there for the help. Now all of a sudden it's 2v2. Nagafin with the strike is on another level. You have to make a decision if you're 100 Thieves.
Yeah. They are so trapped in, and there's the flick, and there's the house arm. What is that shot? Are you kidding me, Sim? And they did manage to put him on the streaks. Wait a second. They've managed to get in. Surely Midnight with no respawns remaining can't do anything here, but they are pushing right into it. How on earth has this happened? How on earth 2 versus 2? They've now got to go, and he goes for the trade. Gorgonite running, trying to get it. Sim takes it 1 versus 1. How on earth? Bartlett is Sim, but he gets it. Midnight end up taking the control.
The strap wasn't there for Reciprocity.
Oh my God! He's a walking montage. He's a walking montage, people.
Simp behind his war machine. Can he break? He's only going to find 1 and get taken down.
But the trades, they're coming through. Can he though with the headshot? They're in the hard point. Just 2 more points needed. There's no contest. And we've got a new champion. It is 100 Thieves that do it.
Lift that trophy high, 100 Thieves, because my goodness, did you earn it. Now, to talk to us all about CWL London, welcome to the show, the very talented Katie Bedford. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, we're so excited to have you.
Yes.
So excited to watch that event fold out in London. My goodness, that crowd was insane. The atmosphere at the venue, the chanting, the beach balls, the jokes, the jeers, crazy support for FaZe, Reciprocity, and Denial. So talk to us about what it was like to actually be in London for this tournament and just soak in that crowd.
You know, I never experienced something quite like it. And I had talked to Benson about what the crowd was going to be like before we went there. And he was spot on. I mean, there was so much passion, so much energy. We had that ball actually back in the green room. And then I'm not sure who brought it out into the crowd, but they loved it. I mean, they started to chant to pass it to Clayster at one point, and he got up out of his seat and threw it into the crowd. It's just, there was so much passion there that I want to see that everywhere. I mean, again, there was jeers, there was boos, there was cheers, there was a proposal to Pog. There was just so much stuff that happened, but really that I I think we're going to come away as one of the most memorable, if not the most memorable event of the season for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so there's so many positives in the crowd. Now we have to talk about the reps, the EU and UK reps going out pretty early in the front of the crowd, as we just mentioned. Reciprocity 7th, 8th, phase 9 to 12, and denial 13th to 16. What caused the UK boys to falter despite playing in front of their home crowd? Is this a home crowd disadvantage?
Yeah, another.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a home crowd disadvantage. I would think if anything that would hype them up more, because maybe some of them for the first time had their parents in attendance to be able to watch them play. But I think what's actually happening here is that this year there is a ton of competition, all at a very compact, similar level. It's not like there's one or two teams that if you get lucky and you don't have to face them, you'll do well. There is a lot of tough competition. And I mean, you can look, again, you have teams like Luminosity Gaming that placed in the same kind of bracket that they did. And Heretics, of course, getting that top 6 did really well, but there's also always going to be that barrier that these teams, if they aren't in the Pro League, simply don't get the same practice against the 100 Thieves and the Optics and the Splices of the world that they might otherwise. So that's always going to be a challenge for them. But certainly, I mean, Heretics and Reciprocity, they didn't do bad by any means.
That's fair. I mean, we should bring it back to 100 Thieves though, because they were the boys lifting that trophy high. They're on a warpath after a disappointment in Fort Worth, and Octane was named tournament MVP. So how have they improved since their rough start to Pro League and now winning the org's first open title?
Well, you could see how excited Matt Nadeshot was for the very first championship title for 100 Thieves as an organization to go to Call of Duty. It was just wonderful for them. But I think when they started out here in Pro League, at the Pro League qualifier, when they had Pharaoh on the team, they were disjointed. There was no chemistry. They weren't working together. It wasn't a talent issue. They were all extremely talented players. They just weren't meshing well. And of course, they barely qualified at Pro League qualifiers. And then they go on and they make a switch. They bring in Priesta and they bring in Crowder as their coach. And something about that just made them click. I mean, you watched it happen in real time, whether it was having the coach, having Priesta in, a different dynamic between those players. They started firing on all cylinders. And especially, of course, Fort Worth was heartbreaking. It was that what if moment that I think we kind of had answered at London. The what if of, well, would they have won? And you see them go on in London, and they did just that. So I really think it goes to show how a potential switch in a roster and bringing on a coach can really turn a team around.
Yeah, that's very apparent in a lot of esports. But we have to move on to EU United, who made it also to the finals, carried heavily by young guns like Simp and Abizi, went on a long losers run after falling to 100 Thieves in winners round 1. So talk to us about Simp's performance and utter lack of nerves he showed in the first time on the big stage.
Well, I mean, Simp did what we were all hoping that he could do. Of course, everyone leans in and goes, okay, this is an amateur who has moved up onto the big stage, into the pros. And is he going to be nervous? Is he going to choke at his first major tournament? And that answer resoundingly was no. Simp was unreal. I mean, watching him play, we were all sitting there like, are you real? Are you a robot? Yeah, I mean, it was just, sometimes you look at the kill feed and it was just all Simp. Just all Simp the entire time. And so really an incredible debut from him. I know, everyone has to be very proud of how he did. And E United, again, that losers run, very, very impressive. Tough to see them fall again at the end. A best of 5, 2 best of 5 rather, in that grand final would have been tough to overcome considering how hot 100 Thieves was playing. But Simp, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better debut from him unless they had won.
So now how excited are you guys at the desk with this growing rivalry between 100 Thieves and E United?
So I think that's really exciting. I mean, there's kind of a couple storylines that are beginning to grow and unfold here. A lot of them are in their infancy. Of course, you have 100T and E United, you have 100T and Optic, you have a couple different things. FaZe Clan's back in the mix, so you have FaZe and Optic again. But I think with 100T and E United, it's a little too soon to tell, certainly. There is the dynamic of kind of Clay talking a little bit of smack early on with Kenny before they'd swapped out, when they had just swapped out Pharaoh, and then them coming back and taking E United down in London. So certainly there's storylines there, but I would say it's a little bit early to call them concrete rivalries.
We have to move on to another team that kind of fell flat, Splice. This is their first top 3 miss in Black Ops 4 so far. They didn't quite look like themselves after the upset loss to Heretics. So from your perspective, what went wrong with Splyce and how can they bounce back heading back to Columbus and the Pro League?
Well, I think it's interesting that you mentioned that this is Splyce's first top 3 miss, because we've actually seen something similar out of both Optic and E United. You know, Optic gets first at Vegas, top 12 at Fort Worth, and then 3rd in London. E United gets 2nd, top 16, and then 2nd. And Splyce, of course, following that same kind of trend. It's like you have these core teams that are performing really well, and then they just seem to have one event where they just don't show up. And that kind of is what happened to Splyce. And I can't obviously speculate too much on what was going on behind the scenes, whether it was chemistry or anything else, but tournaments can be very forgiving. If you drop down into the losers bracket and someone's having a bad day, or maybe you just aren't clicking the way you usually do, then it's unforgiving. One more loss and you're out. And unfortunately, that is what happened to Splyce. But the core of this team is extremely strong. I mean, you have people like Temp and Looney, excellent players. So we'll see, again, once we get back into Pro League, where they start going from there.
Yeah, it would be nice to see them shine a little more. Envy, we need to talk about, because they had a strong run. Started slow, 1-2 record in groups. They beat E6, Spy, LG, and Gen.G in losers bracket. So what exactly was the roster move to bring in Pharaoh and Decimate? And do you think that was the right choice for Envy looking forward?
Well, based just off what we've seen in London, it certainly seems like it was the right choice, because they have much more slaying power than they did before. Of course, they did have people like Apathy, who was a 2-time champs winner. He is an excellent player, no dispute. But he just wasn't necessarily showing up for the team. And now that you have Decimate and Pharaoh, their slaying power as a whole, coupled with Hook, has increased dramatically. They moved, of course, Aches over to the main AR role, and they only had a couple weeks of practice. I think that's important to point out, too, because they went from a top 12 at Fort Worth to 4th place in London. So that's definitely a big step up for them. And I think this team, if they get more time together, more practice together, they certainly have the potential to be very, very scary and very competitive.
Yeah. Speaking about other roster moves, what do you think is the future of FaZe and Evil Geniuses going back to the Pro League, and can they improve upon what they've built during the first half of the season?
I definitely think they can. Of course, FaZe is coming in. They took over Red Reserve's slot, so it's great to have them back in the league. They're definitely a staple name, so it was a little odd to have them missing for the first bit after they failed to qualify, Pro League qualifier. But you have a lot of people there. Scraps, you have Zuma, the talent there is Zero, of course, Celium, Asim. They're all there. They're all very good players. But again, much like what I said with Envy, this is a new roster that's learning to play together. They're finding their footing, if you will. So there's certainly potential. And I would say same thing with Evil Geniuses. That's a little bit more of a disjointed roster. Of course, you have Attached, JCap is back, Exotic. But again, these are all rosters that have just formed. So will they be able to see success like Envy has in moving from a top 12 to a 4th place? Will remain to be seen. But it's exciting because a lot of these teams will get their first debut at Pro League.
Well, speaking of rosters, I want to talk about you, Katie. I want to talk about your addition to the CWL roster, just crushing the desk. My goodness, you ever make me proud just watching you up there. So tell me about your experience just getting into it. And I feel like this must have been such a visceral moment for you to step into like your first LAN, that first time, and just experience all of this.
So honestly, it's just been a wild ride. You know, people say that if you do something that you love, you never work a day in your life. And that's how I feel. I knew going through the interview process, I thought that this is what I would love. And now that I'm doing it, I know that it's what I love. I don't feel like I'm going to work. I'm surrounded by a family of the other personalities and members of MLG that I absolutely adore. They've become such fast friends. Same with the players. I love all of them. And it's been such a welcoming community. It kind of blew me away because, you know, people can be a little hesitant at first. They can be like, who are you? You know, you haven't necessarily been in the scene, so who are you? And they embrace me with open arms, and I'm smitten with Call of Duty, Call of Duty World League. I love everyone. It's just, I'm very thankful to be here.
Well, we are smitten with you, that's for sure, just watching you do your thing. So I guess what you're saying is you are not the COD burner.
Well, you know, you can neither confirm or deny, but I would say I'm a little too new to be the COD burner.
Fair enough, Katie. Thank you so much for taking the time to call in today. We really appreciate it. Keep killing it as per usual on the desk. We will be watching.
Thank you so much, guys.
Yes, Katie is blessed, and it's so sweet to see how much love she's getting from the community. I love that.
She absolutely killed it in the desk, so I mean, did amazingly there.
There's no reason not to get love when you crush, am I right? But Zurich, we must move on now. Are we ready for a little CSGO? We gotta shift gears to the other tournament this weekend in the land down under. I'm sorry, that was bad. We'll be diving into another amazing guest in just a second, but for now, let's check out some of the best moments out of Sydney.
Will Mousesports even give him that opportunity as they start to filter their way onto the bomb site all together? They're peeking the wrong angles. Coldzera has a chance now. 2 have fallen, and it's on to Frozen. He gets the job done. Coldzera, what is that?
So well, he's not flicking, he's not panicking, he's lining up the shots and he's smoking them, but so are the double ups on the T side. Twisted JW, and Twist has gone over to the edge. He's done it! 8 seconds! He has! He's got round 14 and he confirms it by adding insult to injury on JW. Arrogance so low, he does well to find 1. Drops to find 4. He's got 2. Is he aware that there's a second on the flank, though? I'm not sure. Get through that doorway and he might not have to worry about it just yet. As he backs up, it becomes apparent, but it doesn't even matter. It's Lagia down. He's got 3 from 4, and he's looking for Gobi at range.
And Yanko, can the man himself manage to find a 1v3 clutch? It starts off okay. He gets Circuit daps down very low, finishes off both of them, and is the impossible going to happen? Tarek starts to push his way on forward. Yanko might just clutches out, not quite. Needed the headshot really at the end of the day. He doesn't have a kid. Yanko's won it.
When he made that movement, they wrapped in behind him. That closed the distance faster than they would have liked to exist. He's still in the smoke. What? He hit Tarek on that. Look at him go. Got 3, and bomb's not planted. 4 seconds. Ethan can't get to it. They've stolen the round. There's no time. More confidence on the spray. They're very similar in that regard. Have no answer for JW. Back 10-2. Surf tries desperately to get the shot back through the smoke, but that leaves him in the open and vulnerable. 3 down and 2 to find. Make it just 1. JW with 4. Crims against Stewie in a 1-on-1. 11 seconds. He can't get to the bomb. It's not possible. It's not possible. That is impossible.
Nitro can cause enough distraction. This could be absolutely everything. Elise has he's missed the first shot. And the spray as well. Elise, no, not like this.
He's got the CZ and he's gone. It's all on to JW. Smoked away, and it's done finally. And you can forget Blast, you can forget Pro League, you can forget Chicago, you can forget New York, you can forget ECS, forget them all because IEM is finally Liquid.
Liquid are your winners, but man, oh man, the real winners was the crowd, right? Also us. We're the winners too for watching all that. What a scene. And to talk to us about Liquid, the crowd, and so much more, please welcome in chat by spamming those sad Evans. It's our man, Evan Petrell. How's it?
How's it going, guys? Thanks for having me on the show again.
Yeah, of course. I mean, now he's like happy Evans, so it contradicts the sad Evans in chat, but it's okay. I like the juxtaposition of Evans. Let's get into it here with you, babe. IEM Sydney was amazing. It's always amazing. This year, obviously, no exception. Competition between Sydney and CWL London, though, was kind of popping. I know you saw some of that, but what makes the Australian crowd so special when it comes to the large events like this one?
The Australian crowd, they're having their own event while the event's going on, and that's the best part about Sydney. You're sitting there, you're casting, you're getting hype over the round, and then in this lull, you'll hear a scream from the crowd. You'll turn around. It has nothing to do with the game. They're stacking pizza boxes. Like, it's been ongoing for so many years in Sydney where the crowd is just their own event. And I think that's what makes it the best thing is these guys truly just love being there, not only for Counter-Strike, but for the camaraderie between them. And the Australian crowd, I mean, time and time again, they've proven why it's one of the best events in esports. So.
You put it up there on the board in esports.
Yeah, I really like how it's kind of more it's not a super competitive feel. It's more like it's kind of its own thing.
Right,
IEM Sydney is kind of its own thing. But we got to move on to the winners. Liquid won it all. Second tournament win of 2019 after the iBuy Power Masters. So for that team, it kind of felt like it was only a matter of time before they get another big win. What helped them get back to the level that we expect them to be at?
With the way Liquid's playing right now, they've been second place in the world for a very long time. Nobody's actually been able to keep up with them. So the fact that Astralis wasn't at this tournament was almost a shoo-in for Liquid to be the favorites. And I mean, they came out, they played hard. The finals for them, looked pretty good. Of course, Fnatic, I think they're ranked around 10th in the world. Maybe after this tournament they pushed up a little bit. But Fnatic would have been, you know, a lower tier team in comparison. And that's what kind of committed Liquid to this win. I expected Liquid to win. It looked like the only other team I thought that might take out Liquid would have been MIBR. But they, of course, lost to Liquid for Liquid to go to the finals. And, I mean, that's the way the cards played out. Liquid had a phenomenal tournament. It just really sucks that Astralis wasn't there for Liquid to have that challenge to take that first place spot.
You mentioned Fnatic there, and they've had a massive few months after an early exit at the Katowice Major. They had to work so hard for it, only to fall just short. So despite the loss, can Fnatic be satisfied with this performance as they move forward with the roster?
Yeah, I definitely think so, just because they're such a young lineup. When you're looking at the Fnatic lineup, you have Brawl and you have Twist, those two very young players on that team being led by some phenomenal older players or senior players or veterans in the scene, whichever way you want to put it. It's a stepping stone for the Fnatic. This is kind of their moment to know, hey, we can compete with the best. They took Liquid to all 5 maps, and it just shows the potential that this lineup has if they don't change anything and they keep moving towards a goal of taking that first place spot.
We probably saw one of the craziest matches in CSGO history in Fnatic versus NIP there. Where do you think does that match rank against all the great time matches in CSGO?
Would you say it's the greatest?
Yeah, the greatest. Because, I mean, there was a lot of talks on the desk about that match being the greatest match of all time.
It was definitely a heated match, back and forth. Even that last round that Forrest ended up closing out to get to overtime, it looked like he was going to lose it, and all of a sudden some great shots from him. I wouldn't even call them great shots, but like, he completed the shots that he should have hit in the first place, and I'm sure anybody will tell you the same thing. It was one of those moments where you're like, oh my gosh, Forrest is whiffing, and then all of a sudden he just pulls some greatness from out of his pocket and he makes it happen, takes it to OT. Of course, Nip did end up losing the match, but I think the reason that it was such a good match was because it was so back and forth. Throughout that match, nobody really pulled away for a great lead. They were always battling back, some great highlight plays from everybody. It's definitely in my top 5 of all time.
Well, we gotta talk about top 5 here because NRG, they actually make top 4. Tarek predicts top 5 in HLTV ranking soon. So what do you think of NRG showing in Sydney, and what is their potential to challenging Liquid as the best team in North America?
I definitely think it's a little bit of a long shot for NRG right now. I think as we move towards the end of the year, there'll be more chemistry between the players, more cohesion. They'll be able to play a little bit more smoothly together. But for right now, that top 5 spot for NRG is kind of out of sight for them, just because of the caliber of teams they're playing again. Most of the teams that are in the top 5 have had a core that's been together, or had 4 members that have been together for such a long time, only really pulling out the 1 or 2 members. For NRG, with the addition of Tarek plugging in that 5th member, now they're going to see their potential rise. And I do imagine they'll hit one more plateau where they'll have to make another change just before they get into that top 5. I definitely think it's in the cards, but it's still a little bit far off.
Gotcha.
Oh, we got to talk about another team that also kind of had a roster swap, Mouse. That was our first good look with the new roster with Kerrigan, Woxic, and Frozen. What's your read on this new look, on this new roster, and how can these young guns on the squad flourish under Kerrigan's leadership?
Yeah, that's a huge question. I mean, Kerrigan, when he came to Envy, he was underperforming. I mean, everybody saw the underperformance out of Kerrigan, and everybody kind of thought, that's it for this guy. He came to Envy, didn't play too well. You know, he's an older player. He's probably done with the game in a year, maybe. He's on his way out. But then he goes to Mousesports, and once he gets to Mousesports, it's like a complete turnaround, complete 180 from him. He played phenomenal through IEM Sydney. Most of the rounds that Mousesports, you know, were in a do-or-die situation, Kerrigan stepped up big. And now with the addition of Woxic, who's a phenomenal player himself, and Frozen, this young 16-year-old fragger that throughout the tournament showed why he belongs on a lineup like Mousesports. I definitely think looking at Mousesports going towards the end of the year, they're going to be a scary team for almost any organization to go up against.
I like those words. Scary. Let's talk about the Aussies at the event. Renegades out in groups, Chiefs out early, Greyhound upset FaZe and barely lose to FNC. We had 3 hometown reps, but sadly none of them made it to the playoff bracket. Talk to us about Chiefs, Greyhound, and Renegades and their performances at this particular tournament.
Well, Chiefs and Greyhound aren't really considered a top-tier Australian team, so Chiefs going out. Nobody really batted an eye. They kind of expected that to happen. When Greyhound takes out Fnatic, though, that's when I start taking a look at the Australian scene, because a team like FaZe should be able to walk out the door with a win over Greyhound, but they end up losing. And right there, it shows the signs that, hey, these Australian teams have potential. They need to be exposed to more European teams so they can make their mark. Renegades, bad tournament. That's all it was, in my opinion. I think that they just hit a wall. I think in front of the hometown crowd, just too much pressure on them, and they ended up folding. I definitely think Renegades is still a great team. I think if it was in any other continent, they probably would have got a top 6 finish, somewhere in that vicinity right there, if not maybe even going to the finals. But yeah, I think the hometown crowd wanting to put on a show for their, the countrymen, ends up getting them knocked out early, very early in the tournament, actually. And on the flip side, there was a little bit of silver lining, a little bit of light from the Australian team side, with Greyhound ending up taking out FaZe. So even though they ended up losing all their members, or losing all their Australian teams early on, we still see Greyhound take out FaZe, which for the Australians was a massive accomplishment. So I think it's pretty good overall for the Australian scene.
The pressure was real, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like a home crowd disadvantage.
Oh yeah, that happens in Toronto all the time. We understand.
That's true. Anyway,
we got Game 7 though. We got Game 7 against Philly. That's all I'm saying.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, that's a monk-ass moment there. Speaking of the Australian team, what do you see the future for not just the Australian team, but also the SEA Oceanic region, CSGO scene? What needs to happen for the region to reach its full potential?
So generally the SEA scenes have been more, or even Australia, well, Australia is just emerging as this CSGO powerhouse now. They're coming up. It's going to be a couple more years, but you're seeing the change with IAM Sydney coming in. You're seeing how many people are going to fill those stadiums. You're seeing that cultural shift within the Australian market towards, the FPSs, towards CSGO, towards esports. I think the difference between the Australian market and the Southeast Asian market is the Southeast Asian market primarily, in my opinion at least, was more League of Legends, was more Dota 2. Those were the games that were, the high tier in the SEA market. But now with things changing, you're seeing CSGO being more adopted by them. You're seeing more teams emerging out of China, out of Thailand, out of Singapore, Malaysia. And that's great. That's just showing that CSGO is encapsulating the globe here with, the game itself. And I think that it's only a matter of time before we see, the same attention given to Dota 2 and League of Legends given to CSGO in the SEA market.
Evan, thank you so much for calling in and sharing your insight. We cannot wait to see you back in Toronto real soon.
Yeah, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, eh?
Oof, love that sad Evan. Spam more sad Evans in the chat right now. I need to see them. Okay, so obviously that was a lightning round run through 2 incredible tournaments that happened last weekend. So much to process, but we do need to talk about another pressing issue that seems to be happening in the CSGO community, just to bring it back to that. The Blast Pro Series has been causing a little bit of an uproar within the scene, only because there seems to be more and more tournaments, and they promise more tournaments to come, but this also means less time for players, and teams are committing to certain events over others. There's just a great divide seemingly happening now in the scene, so can you explain it?
Yeah, it's a very peculiar situation because from like an audience perspective, the Blast Pro Series is amazing, very entertaining. The production is highest quality. Like, I have honestly never seen any other esport have that beautiful broadcast. Like, it is so good, and of course, like, the prize pools are insane and absolutely, it's almost like if you are a pro, you really can't miss it, right? But that is actually they are contractually obligated to attend a certain amount of tournaments, which is kind of sucks because they have to then miss other major events because they have to compete in the Blast Pro Series. So there's like pros and cons to its existence. The community is upset because they don't want to have as much Blast Pro Series events because they want the teams to be more in the competitive state.
Be more competitive, because people are saying that Blast Pro Series is just not as a competitive. Like, when it comes to the overall competition scene, it's not that difficult to play by comparison. Even though Australis will be there, like, they skipped IEM Sydney, and they also were set to skip ESL Cologne as well, like, because they're contractually obligated now to the Blast Pro Series. But it's like, as an org, I kind of understand, well, you know what, I'm gonna go to where the prize pools are better. So if IEM can't step it up and like offer me more money, we're gonna just go with Blast. Like the production's great, competition's not that difficult.
Yes.
Like why not just rake it in?
It's almost free money for some of these top teams. It's kind of ridiculous in that sense because again, the fans want to see them in a more competitive environment and more competitive settings, and Blast Pro Series being like predominantly best of ones makes it a little bit more wild, I guess. So it's like you can't play off your opponent's mistakes as much, where you kind of just have to throw all you got on that first game and hopefully you win, which of course creates an amazing audience, spectator, esport, but at the same time, from an actual competitive standpoint, it's a little bit more, lower tier.
Lax. I mean, I get the money thing though. We're going to dive even deeper into this next Friday because we'll talk all about this past weekend's Blast Pro Series, of course. But now I think that pretty well does it for today. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Evan, and thank you at home for lending us your eyes and ears. We'll be back next week with 5 more amazing days of shows. And until then, type !socials in the chat right now to check out our other links. We'll see you Monday.
Oof, that was a stacked esports in 30. I hope your brains can absorb all that FPS knowledge. All right, shout outs to Rebel for keeping us fueled in the green room. And remember, it's Friday, so we'll be back on Monday in the green room at 1 p.m. Eastern time, and then back that night with the new Unmuted and League of Legends in esports in 30 because I'm so excited to talk about MSI. Remember, you can catch us on all our socials at Squad State. So have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.